In this video, we are going to be given a story and we are going to need to graph out a sketch of what the story is telling us. So this is going to be a very inexact type of math problem, which does upset some students, meaning my work is going to look a little different than yours, but as long as the key ideas are observed, then we're in great shape. So like we did in a previous video, we are going to observe the steepness of lines, but what's different here is instead of being given the graph first, and describing the graph, we are given the description, and then we're going to make a graph to fit that description. Let's get rocking and rolling. So, we are told to sketch a graph that describes the distance you travel when going for the following bike ride. So it says you get your bike out and put your helmet on. So it says put on your helmet. So we'll go with that. Now, I've given a graph right here, and we're gonna go, and I'm intentionally gonna black out these words so that you're only focused on one sentence at a time. That's how we're gonna graph this out. Other thing, we're going to assume that we're going to do this with lines. You don't necessarily have lines in the real world. More on that later on in deeper mathematical thinking. If you think about it, a bike doesn't go at a nice constant rate, right? It could go faster and faster or slow down real quickly. We're going to assume lines here. Okay, with all that out of the way, you've got a graph, but we don't know how much time has gone by and we don't know how much distance has gone on. So we just label a very rough graph where we have 0 time and 0 distance is at the origin, and then the vertical axis is the distance you will travel and the time is on the horizontal axis. We got the title, The Distance of a Bike Ride. That's it. Very non-descriptive, right? Not too detailed. That's okay. So we'll start with you get your bike out and put on your helmet. Well, that means that we're not going anywhere, right? We're not accumulating distance if we're just putting our helmet on. So I'll start here. Time goes on. I'll make that extra thick. So a little bit of time has gone on. We're just chilling out, getting our bike ready, getting ourselves ready. You slowly ride down the street and stop at the corner. Okay, if I'm gonna slowly ride down the street, I don't want my line to be that steep. So my distance is not gonna be accumulating quickly like this. It's gonna be accumulating pretty slowly. So we do something like that, right? So that's pretty slow. And then we stop at the corner, which means that no distance is changing at all, but time is going on. Horizontal line right there. Then we'll keep reading here. It says, you then get onto the bike path and pedal as fast as you can for a little while. If we're pedaling real quickly, then we're gaining a lot of distance in a pretty short amount of time. So I want to make sure that my line is pretty super steep. So that line is steeper than this line right here. In fact, we could probably make that even, let's go super steep. All right, we still need time to go on, but all right, there we go. So that line's pretty darn steep, showing that we're biking quicker. Then let's see what we do next. You slow down as you go up a hill. Okay, so we're going to slow down, which means, again, as time goes on, we're still moving forwards, we're still gaining distance, but nowhere near as fast. So we're going up a hill, so maybe something like that. Maybe it's not even as steep as here. Who knows? And that's the part that might bug you. We don't know. It's a rough sketch. And then we stop to rest at the top of the hill. So at this point, we have a nice flat horizontal line like that. So we have a little bit of steepness and then a nice horizontal line right there. Then let's keep reading the story. You then coast back down the hill on the other side, right? So if we're going to coast down a hill, we're going to go quicker and gain more distance. So again, maybe another steep line, something like that. How steep are these lines? We don't know. We really have no clue how steep these lines are. All we know is that if we're ever stopped, we should have horizontal lines. If we're going quicker, we should have steeper lines. And if we're going slower, we should have lines that are not as steep as those quicker intervals. And that's the important part. That's it, peeps. A brief example of how to take a story and represent it with a sketch of a graph. The importance of this is what I mentioned with the steepness of lines, something we're going to get into a little more exactness as we dive deeper and deeper into this awesome algebra stuff.